Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Avodah Zarah Daf Mem Tes, the last Daf of Perek Cholat Slamim, which reminds me, as a kid, we used to have this joke, this story about. So they meet the Bachar and he said, "What are you learning? Which yeshiva are you learning?" He says, "I learn in the Salem Yeshiva. It's on Church Avenue. We're learning Meseches Avodah Zarah and holding at Perek Cholat Slamim." Okay, in any case, so we're on the last daf of this Perek. Actually, we're on Memches Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom, in the middle of the Sugya of Zeh V'Zeh Gorim. Says the Gemara, V'Savar Rabbi Yosi Zeh V'Zeh Gorim Asur. So, up until this point, we sort of surmised that Rabbi Yosi's opinion is that when we have Zeh V'Zeh Gorim, which means we have two forces joining together to achieve a certain result, to produce a certain product. So you have the plant that's being developed by the ground, the soil, which is non-problematic material, which is kosher material, plus the fertilizer coming off the Avodah Zarah tree. So we have two elements working in tandem to bring about, to achieve this result, to produce this vegetable. Zeh V'Zeh V'Zeh Gorim, two things together, Gorim causing something to happen. One Gorim, one element is forbidden. For instance, Avodah Zarah. The other element is perfectly fine. What happens? Do we have to reckon with both elements? Or can we just ignore the forbidden part and focus just on the permissible part, in which case you're okay? Rabbi Yosi seems to hold this type of situation creates an issue. Zeh V'Zeh Gorim is asur. Really, says the Gemara? Really, it's asur. V'Savar Rabbi Yosi Zeh V'Zeh Gorim asur. V'ha Tanan. We have a Mishnah where it seems otherwise. Rabbi Yosi Ayman Noitin Yichur Shel Arla. So we shift to Arla, right? So the Arla tree, in the first 3 years of this fruit tree, is now off limits, forbidden, asur even to have a nu'ah from. You can't have any benefit. So Rabbi Yosi says, no problem planting a branch. Noitin yichur shel arla. You can plant a branch off the arla tree because a branch is not forbidden, it's not the fruit. Vein noitin egois shel arla, as opposed to planting fruit, a nut off the arla tree. Neshu peri, because it's a fruit, right? So it's a pri, and asur bahana. Vam Rabbi Damarav, that's before the fact. Suppose he did it. He planted the nut, and out came a new plant, a new tree. What's the status of that tree? V'amar Rabbi Damarav, Moide Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi would agree that after the fact, it's okay. She'im nata, v'hibrich, v'hirkif, if he planted, he took a branch of the other tree buried in the ground, and produced another tree through that, v'hirkif, or he grafted. Any type of arla use through planting is mutar, is okay. Why? Explains Rashi. Here's a classic example of Zeh V'Zeh Gorim. There's an element of isur, i.e. the arla nut, but it also needed the soil, the karka, the ground, the field, to achieve that result. So it needed both elements to get you the new tree. The ego is isur, the karka is heter, and therefore it's Zeh V'Zeh Gorim and it's mutar. V'tani nami, how can we find the same in a brisa that Moed Rabbi Yosi would agree after the fact you're safe. Shem nata v'hivich v'hirkif, if you planted, you grafted, all these early uses, mutar, the new growth is okay. How does that work? If Rabbi Yosi holds Zeh V'Zeh Gorim is asur by the Avodah Zarah, perhaps we'll draw that distinction between Avodah Zarah, which is more strict, versus arla, which is less strict, and you don't have to reckon as much with the forbidden element embedded in this process. Perhaps we'll say, Shani Rabbi Yosi makes that differentiation between other isurim such as arla, where we could just ignore the forbidden element, as opposed to Avodah Zarah, where even a drop is terribly asur, and we can't ignore anything. Any Avodah Zarah element complicates the process. Really? Does Rabbi Yosi really draw that line? and considers Avodah Zarah to be more severe or more strict, in which case Zev as a Gerim is Asr, listen to this Brisa, which indicates otherwise. V'atanya, we have a Brisa. So one Brisa says, Sada Sheni's Davla, Bezev Alavetz Kicham, you have a field that was fertilized using Avodah Zarah fertilizer. Again, a classic example of Zeh, V'zeh Gerim, fertilizer is Asr, the field is Mutter, they're both combining, joining together to produce that crop. V'chein, another example is a para, you have a cow, shenis patma, which was stuffed, which was force-fed, b'kar sheni, Avodah Zarah using Avodah Zarah beans, but it also ate other foods. So again, we have double causation. What's the halach? Can we now use the field? Can we now eat the shech the cow? Tani chada. So one brisa says it's okay because zev zegarim is mutter. Sada tizara, you can plant the field. Par tishachet, slaughter the animal. But tani we have another brisa which disagrees. No, zev zegarim is aser. In which case the field cannot be used, cannot be cultivated until you allow the Avodah Zarah fertilizer to dissipate. Likewise, the cow has to be put on a diet so that it loses its fattening and its Avodah Zarah, benefit. But Tani, we have another brisa that disagrees. So that has to be left fallow for a while. Upar teraza on the cow to get skinny. My loves, how do we reconcile this, dispute between the two brisas? Apparently, they reflect different opinions, right? Harab Yesi v'Rabbanan. The first brisa, which seems not to be concerned with Zev Zegarim, that's consistent with Rabbi Yesi, who said likewise, by the Arla, you planted the nut, you're okay. So whether it's Arla, Avodah Zarah, we don't care. Zev Zegarim is mutter. So clearly, there's no differentiation between Avodah Zarah and other Isurim. But Rabbanan versus the other brisa, which says you can't use the field of the cow, that's going like the Rabbanan who hold Zev Zegarim is Aser. So there goes our whole a theory to differentiate between Avodah Zarah and other Isurim. We see Rabbi Yesi apparently allows Zev as a Gerim to go through by Arla or Avodah Zarah. So now we're stuck. Says the Gemara, no. Lie. Perhaps Rabbi Yesi himself would draw that line, although by Arla he allows it, but not by Avodah Zarah. And regarding these two brises, they're unrelated to Rabbi Yesi. Why are we mixing in Rabbi Yesi? Lie. Ha Rabbi Lezer v'Rabbanan. The machlekes revolves around Rabbi Lezer and Rabbanan. Rabbi Lezer is the one who says Zev Zegarim is Aser, and Rabbanan say it's mutter, even by Avodah Zarah. Now, okay, it's a theory, but we have to send the search party out to try to find a source for this theory, to confirm that in fact there is an ongoing running machlekes between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbanan in this regard. Hi, Rabbi Lezer and Rabbanan, where do we find these two opinions discussing this very topic? Is it Rabbi Lezer and Rabbanan discussing the sourdough? This now we have a Mishnah which details a story with two types of sourdough. One was forbidden from Truma, one was ordinary material, chulin, which can be used by anybody. And they were both used to leaven up to make a dough rise. Okay, so we have zev zegarim, a little bit of the forbidden material, a little bit of the permissible material, joining forces to make the new dough rise. It's not a sour shel chulin. You have a little bit of a sourdough of chulin, which is okay. V'shel truma, a little bit of truma, which is not okay for us. And they both fell into this dough. Now, interestingly, each one alone doesn't have enough power to achieve that result, to make the dough rise. This portion of sa'ar can't bring the results, but nor can the other portion of sa'ar achieve chimutz, bring the dough to the point of leavening on its own. But since they were there together, they joined forces, and they brought about the chimutz in the new dough. Okay, so what's the status of this dough? It's all about what fell in last. Okay, so if the chulin came in last, then the dough is permissible. Anybody can eat it. It's mutter for even a zar and non-kohen to eat. We ignore the truma that fell in first. Versus if the truma fell in second, then the dough can only be eaten by a kohen. So it's all about the last guest. It doesn't really matter who came first, who came second. Sequence is not an issue. Whether the isser, meaning the truma, entered the dough first, or the isser came in second, There's no issue here. Ad sheheba kedei l'chametz, unless the Isser portion, on its own, independent of the other portion, can bring about the desired results. Oh, because apparently the Rabbanan hold zev zegarim is mutter. Right? You have two contributors who need each other because each one on its own doesn't have sufficient power. We could just ignore the forbidden part and we allow the product. Now, regarding Rebbe Lezer, V'amar Abaye explained, right? So we're sort of headed in this direction. We're going to try to prove that Rebbe Lezer is the one who holds Zev Zegarim is Asur. How? So again, Rebbe Lezer was the one who said, it all depends what came in second. V'amar Abaye explained on that. Leishona, it's only true. This that we say that when the permissible material came in second, the chulin fell in as number 2. We can just ignore what happened prior. That's only when he removed shekadam v'silikas isser. He first removed the isser, meaning the truma, prior to the chulin falling in. So now we don't even have him around. It's just its effect. And since the chulin came in second, and he sort of, pushed the ball over the goal line, he finished the process. So we could just ignore the effect of the truma that was there and is already gone. But let's say he did not remove the isser. So now we have a bit of truma in there mixed in, a bit of chulin mixed in. Asur. So although each one on its own could not bring about the chimutz on the dough is now asur for any non-kayan to consume. Why? Exactly such, because zeh v'zegarim is asur. Right? When we have two elements working together to achieve a certain result, in this case, the bit of truma, the bit of chulin, that are being machametz, this isa, this dough, we can't ignore the isser. And therefore the dough is asur. So again, only if you remove the truma, and then the chulin falls in, then Rebbe Lezer says, you know what? We don't have to reckon with the truma. Because he's not even here. Well, its effects are bottled, nullified, due to the arrival of the chulin, which really finished the process. But if he's still around, somewhere in the dough, so you have two elements sitting in this dough, one asur, one mutter, the dough is asur. So we found our address. Rebbe Lezer holds Zev Zegarim is asur. He's the author of those, brises there with the cow and with the field that was fertilized. It's asur. Versus the Rabbanan who say Zev Zegarim is mutter, and they're the authors of the other brisa, which says likewise. Asks the Gemara, how do you know this is the correct approach in understanding Rebbe Lezer? In which case, it results in Rebbe Lezer holding Zev Zegarim asur. How do we know the time of the Rebbe Lezer? Rebbe Lezer's reasoning is in fact Keda Abaye, as Abaye presented it. Dilma time of the Rebbe Lezer, maybe Rebbe Lezer holds that even if the truma is still sitting in there, we don't care. It's all about who came in last, who finished the process. He has the last say. He has the final word, and he determines the status. Igama bi surah asura. If you completed the process with the isser, meaning the truma came in second, asura, dough is asur. Igama be'etera. But if you concluded it with permissibility, with heter, meaning the chulin came in second, mutar, and the dough is okay, irrespective of whether the old piece is still sitting there. Bein salke, whether he removed the truma by the time the chulin came, ubein lo salke, or whether he did not remove it. So perhaps Rebbe Lezer would, in theory, would hold, generally, he would hold Zev Zegarim as mutter. Here it's just a question of what finished the process, and that's a totally new, factor at play. So again, we have no confirmation that Rebbe Lezer in fact holds that in general we say Zev Zegarim is asur. So back to square one. We found another address. Machlokes between Rebbe Lezer and Rabbanan regarding wood from the Erla tree, where it seems that in fact they're arguing about Zev Zagar. This now we have a Mishnah, Notel Hemena Eitzim. This Mishnah actually is coming up in a couple of minutes on the Amud Beis of our daf. So he took some wood off the Avodah Zarah. It's an Avodah Zarah tree, which it's Asur B'Hana, right? Asur B'Hana, so the wood cannot be used for firewood, it's forbidden. What if he used it to heat up his oven? Now, if the oven is a new, brand new, never used oven, chadash, in which case the heat is required to cure it and to harden it. Asur B'Hana, since that oven was completed through forbidden material using the Avodah Zarah firewood, that oven is now forbidden for future use. The entire oven becomes asur. So Yutatz, you got to demolish it. Yashan. However, when he inserted the Avodah Zarah wood into that oven, it was already a preheated oven. It was a used oven. So the oven itself is fine. It's just the heat in the oven is coming from forbidden material. Yutzam, so you have to cool it off before you use it. So you don't benefit from the Avodah Zarah firewood. Otherwise, a pass. So either way, he took this forbidden situation and he baked his bread in there. Asur B'Hana, the bread is asur. Misarav Ba'acherim, if he got to mix them with other breads, Kulan Asur is B'Hana, the entire sack of bread is asur. Blazer Omer, Yadachanol Yam Melach. An easy solution would be take whatever one bread costs, $5, take that $5, throw it into Yam Melach, and then you can sell the rest of the sack. Amrullah, they told him, no, ain't pidyon, you can't redeem Avodah Zarah because redemption is a concept that applies only to Hegdish. You can transfer Kedusha from the item to the money, but not by Avodah Zarah. You have a forbidden item in there, you can't take your chances. You can't even sell the whole sack because somewhere in there is Avodah Zarah. Okay, we'll get to that soon. Okay, how does that pertain to our discussion? Because here it's Rabbi Eliezer speaking, and he is banning this bread. Why? What's wrong with the bread? Because the bread was produced partially, right, in part using forbidden stuff, right? There is an element of Isser, right? But there's also an element of heter, the oven itself, right? Right? The oven material was fine. Perhaps the galvanizing part, the hardening part, that element came from the wood. Or in the case of the old oven, the heat comes from the wood, but the oven itself is perfectly fine. So it's a combined situation. You have Isser v'Heter working in tandem. And still Rabbi Eliezer says the resulting bread is asur. Zev Zagarim is asur. Okay, so we have half the equation solved. Now, who's the opposing shita? The Rabbanan, who you said would hold that Zev Zagarim is mutter. Where do we find the Rabbanan? So Rabbanan, the Pligalid Rabbi Eliezer, the Rabbanan who you're suggesting are in disagreement with Rabbi Eliezer. They hold that it's mutter. Manina, where are the Rabbanan? Where is the address for those Rabbanan? Ilem Rabbanan this Eitzim. Is it the Rabbanan in this Mishnah itself? Well, if anything, Achmuri Machmuri. They're really more strict, Rabbi Eliezer. He's at least allowing redemption. They're not even allowing that. So of course they're holding Zev Zagarim as asur. Ehel Rabbanan Desar. Oh, so let's go back to the previous Mishnah with the sourdough used to process the dough. Rabbanan there seem to be saying Zev Zagarim is mutter. They're permitting the dough, right? So apparently they hold Zev Zagarim as mutter. Says the Gemara, that's true, but perhaps that's only by non-Avodah Zarah materials. When do we find the Rabbanan are lenient with respect to the Se'ar? Where do we find that they apply the same leniency to Avodah Zarah issues? Which is what we're looking for. We're looking to discover a shita of Zev Zagarim by Avodah Zarah as well, which would solve that riddle with the contradictory brises earlier, which discussed Avodah Zarah. And one brisa said it's okay. So now we're stuck again. We haven't found an address for this type of opinion. Ella, rather, you're right, let's backtrack. Let's not get involved in Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanon. Let's go back to the original arrangement. The machlokes is between Rabbi Yossi, who holds Zev Zagorim is mutter in all cases, just like we find that he allows it by the orla that was planted. The same would be by the Avodah Zarah. Hence, the field that was fertilized, the cow that was fed, they're okay. The Rabbanon, on the other hand, they hold the Zev Zagorim is asur. Okay, but now if you go back to the Mishnah, our Mishnah, wasn't it Rabbi Yossi who forbade planting vegetables underneath the Asherah tree, even during winter time, for concern the trees shedding leaves will be providing some benefit due to the fertilizer effect on the plants below, which are also growing off the ground, which are permissible, so it's Zev Zagorim. What's the problem? You're right, says the Gemara. When Rabbi Yossi presented that argument, l'devrei d'Rabbanan ka'amar lu, he was really relating just to their opinion, on your wavelength. Meaning, I personally am not concerned at all with this type of joint procedure. My personal opinion is, Zev Zagorim is perfectly mutter. I'm not worried about leaves and fertilizer because the soil is mutter. But according to you, Damris, who are of the opinion that Zev Zagorim is asur, but at least agree that you shouldn't be allowed, according to you, you shouldn't be allowed to have vegetables under that tree, even during winter time. Why are you allowing it? Why would you allow? That's Rabbi Yossi's claim to the Chachamim. Why would you allow winter growth underneath that tree? Fine, there's no shading from the sun, element there, because there's no, right? That's only permanent for summertime. But nevertheless, we have another problematic element, which is the leaves, the shedding leaves, which provide fertilizer. So according to me, it's not an issue because that's counteracted by the soil, which is mutter. But according to you, Zev Zagorim is asur, that would disallow even winter planting. Rabbanan. So how would the Rabbanan respond to that? As we said the other day, Kid Amar, Rav Mori, Breidav Kahana, that was with respect to skinning the animal, that any possible gain or benefit is counteracted, is cancelled out by the damage done to the flesh. So here as well, there are leaves coming down, providing some fertilizer effect, but at the same time, it's blocking any sun rays that may come through, right? So the tree is blocking the sparse sun that we have during winter time, so it's sort of acting also to the detriment of those plants. And that's why we don't have to reckon with the Avodah Zarah, and we don't consider it benefiting from the Avodah Zarah. It cancels out. Okay, so in conclusion, according to this latest step, it's Rabbi Yossi who says Zev Zagorim is mutter, whether it's Arla, whether it's Avodah Zarah, etc. Whereas the Rabbanan say Zev Zagorim is asur. Rabbi Damar Shmuel, halacha is Rabbi Yossi that it's mutter. In fact, there was a ginsa, this garden, the izdabel bezivla, that was fertilized using zevel, waste material, fertilizer of Davidas Kechon. So that's your classic Zev Zagorim. Shalach Rav Amr, Kamed Rav Yosef, he asked the question of Rav Yosef, Amr Lei. So he sent the question to Rav Yosef, who responded, Hachi Amar Rav Damar Shmuel, halach Rav Yosef, who passed on Rav Yosef, that it's okay. Says the Mishnah, no tal mimeno eitzim. So if a fellow removes some wood off the Asherah of a Zarah tree, right? One may not use that wood. So this is the Mishnah we had just quoted a couple of minutes ago, right? So if you use the wood to heat up the oven, if it was to galvanize, to harden, to cure a brand new oven, you tatzik, got to demolish the oven. If it was used to heat up a used oven, Yutzan, you have to cool it off before you use it. However, if he baked something in that oven, Asur ba'ano, it's Asur, because you're benefiting from the heat generated by the Avodah Zarah wood, etc. In fact, if that loaf gets mixed in with other loaves, kulan asuras ba'ano, everything is forbidden. Just make a redemption. Yoilich hanol yamamelach, take the value of that forbidden loaf of bread, toss it into the ocean. In this way, you're not benefiting from the hanoah, and you can sell the rest to a guy. They told him, no, ein pidyon avizkecham, you cannot redeem Avodah Zarah. The Mishnah continues, not alimenu karkar. This is another example of Avodah Zarah use. You take a little branch of the Avodah Zarah tree, use it as a tool, a little pointing tool, which is used to set up the threads during the on the loom during the weaving process. Asur b'hanoah. So the karkar tool is asur for use. Ergweis habeged, use it to weave a garment. Asur b'hanoah, the garment is asur. Misar b'acherim, b'acherim b'acherim. That garment got mixed into others, and that whole bunch got mixed into yet another bunch. Kulan asur b'hanoah, the entire heap of garments are asur because of the Zarah element found within them. Blazo Aimer, Yoilich hanol yamamelach. Just go and take whatever the Avodah Zarah garment is worth, whatever that forbidden item is worth, take the value and toss it into the Dead Sea. And then you can just sell the rest. Right? You can sell them individually, because after all, you're not having enough from that problematic item because you already deposited the value in the Yam HaMelech. They told him, no, ain't pidyon, you can't do pidyon for Avodah Zarah. And the only solution would be is to sell the entire bunch and not charge for the Avodah Zarah item within them. But if you're selling them individually, you can't, because you're getting paid for the forbidden item. And this is despite having tossed the value of that item into the ocean. There's no pidyon. You can't transfer, value, isser, when it comes to Avodah Zarah. Now, why did the Mishnah have to go through two seemingly identical cases? One is with the firewood, one with the karkar, gadget. Tzricha, both are needed. The ashmin and kamaisa. If only the first case, Bahal Kam Rabbi Lezer, I would think, Rabbi Lezer in this case says, you can do that pidyon process. Mishum de beidna de kol gamra pas, because there is an element of leniency. Because after all, when the bread was produced and baked, at that point, kolilol isura, the isur element of firewood, had already been obliterated. Right? Because how does the heat get produced? How does firewood produce? How does it get converted into heat? When the wood gets burnt, so the burnt wood, right, was now converted into energy, into heat. After it was destroyed, right? So heat is sort of coming post destruction of the actual, wood element that's producing that heat. Right? When it gets burnt, it gets converted into heat. So the actual wood is no longer around at that point. So perhaps you can be more lenient. You could do pidyon to mitigate the effect. Aval karkar, the isil isur be'ena, but the karkar gadget, which is intact, it's an Avodah Zarah item, intact. Perhaps pidyon in that case would not be allowed. Ema, perhaps moidi, the rabban, he would agree to rabbanon. You can't be paid as something which is actually tangible and intact. On the other end, v'yashmin and karkar. If we only discuss the second case of the karkar, I would say b'hakam rabbanon in this case insists you can't do pidyon because the thing is around. I will pass, but when it comes to the bread, where the firewood is already burnt, ema, moidu, later Rabbi Lezer, perhaps in this case they would agree to Rabbi Lezer. You can do redemption, you can do pidyon to sidestep the issue tzricha. That's why both cases are mentioned, to teach us that the same machlokes applies in both cases. Rabbi Lezer allows pidyon, but not the rabban. Amar Rabbi Chia, Brei the Rabbi Bar Nachmani, Amar Chizda, Amar Ziri, Halach Rabbi Lezer. We pass like Rabbi Lezer. Pidyon is an acceptable solution. Ikad Amri, some say Amar Chizda, Amar Li Abba, Bar Rav Chizda. So he told me, Hachi Amar Z'iri, quotes Iri, Halach Reb Eliezer. Amar Rav, Ada Barav, Leishanu. Reb Eliezer only allows pidyon, elapas. Only by the loaf of bread. Because you don't really have the mamoshes, the actual Isra material intact. Aval chavis loy. But let's say there is a barrel of forbidden wine containing, yayin nesach, got mixed into 99 other barrels. You can't go ahead and say, well, I'm going to redeem the problematic one, toss the value into the ocean, and now sell these barrels individually to Goyim. Can't do that. Why? Why is it different? Rashi says because the Isser is so here. It's right here. It's a barrel with forbidden wine. You can't go and sell it and take money for it, even utilizing the pidyon process. So in contrast to the bread, which was, somewhat benefiting from it, Isra Hana, or the karka, the tool which was used to produce the garment, but you don't actually have the Isra Be'en. The garment only was partially, benefiting from the tool. The bread was partially produced by that heat of Avodah Zarah, but it's not a tangible Isra like a barrel with forbidden material inside, where that's actually a tangible Isra. So that you can't get away with. You can't get around that, even with pidyon. So that's his opinion. So the only way would be, says Rashi, the only way would be to sell the entire stock and not charge for that one barrel. So you're selling 100 barrels and only charge for 99. That's okay, because you're not actually taking any money for the, even though you don't know where it is, but you're not charging for it. But to go sell it individually, or sell glasses of wine to Goyim and actually take money, knowing that within the supply you have a barrel of forbidden material, you can't do that. Even with pidyon. Rav Chizda Amar, he disagrees. I feel chavos materas, even if it's a barrel containing Isser, Reb Eliezer would allow the redemption process to sidestep the issue. In fact, there was a story involving Rav Chizda himself. How Gavra, this man, this Arab lechavisa di Nesach. So there was a barrel filled with yayin nesach. They got mixed in bechamri with his other wines. Also committed Rav Chizda. So he comes to Rav Chizda Amar, and he told him, you can do that. True to his word, he says, Shkoil arbazuzeh, take $4 whatever the value of the forbidden wine is. Shadib and Ara, throw it into the local river, finish the rilach, and then you can sell the rest, no problem. Says the Mishnah, Ketzim Navatl. So how do we nullify this Asherah tree? Kerosene. So let's say the guy snips off some dried branches, v'zired, or he prunes fresh branches off the tree. So basically, he violates the tree, chops from it. That's called bittul. By doing so, he's nullifying the Avodah Zarah status of the tree, because that's not proper conduct expected of him if in fact it's still Avodah Zarah, right? Not like a makal sharvet, or he pulls off a stick or a pointer, even a leaf. Harez a betela, tree now is no longer Avodah Zarah. Shifa, what if he shaves the tree, trims it a little bit, So it depends. Tzarcha asura. The point is to beautify the tree, then it's not bittul, he's not nullifying it, he's actually enhancing it, it's asur. Shaloi tzarcha mutaras, but if it was done for his own personal use, because he needs those shavings, then the tree is now considered no longer Avodah Zarah. So the question is, oisan shafoin matei alein. Suppose the shaving was done for the tree itself, fine. So the tree retains its Avodah Zarah status. But what about the shavings themselves, which are sort of waste material off the tree? What status do they have? There's machlokes. Pligi bar Rav Huna, Rav Chia bar Rav. Chadamar, one says asurin, the shavings are asur. But Chadamar mutarin, the other one says it's okay. Tani Kimad Amar asurin. We have a brisa which supports Kimad Amar mutarin, the shita that says that it's okay. The Sani, we have a brisa. Ovid gechavim sheshifa abayis gechavim. So a guy shaved his idol, his tree. Let's say if it was for his own personal use, so he abused his Avodah Zarah, he diverted it for personal use, that constitutes a bittul, a nullification of its Avodah Zarah status. Apparently, he's no longer regarding it as an idol. He, the actual idol itself, the tree, and its shavings become mutter. But if it was for the sake of the tree itself, to beautify the Avodah Zarah, he asura, the tree maintains its status of isra, but the shavings are mutter. Because it's waste material broken off the Avodah Zarah, he's not worshipping those shavings. They are certainly considered batal and no longer forbidden. That's if a guy does it. He's Yisrael, but if a Jew does these things, Sheshifa b'tzkacham, he shaves the Avodah Zarah. In that case, bein l'tzarcha, whether it was for the sake of the Avodah Zarah itself, or bein l'tzarcha, or for his own personal use, the Avodah Zarah itself, ushvaheha, or its shavings, asurim, so both are asur, because as we said the other day, Yisrael cannot be mevatel the Avodah Zarah. We're concerned that he's going to be kainet, and he's going to make it his, and a yid cannot be mevatel Avodah Zarah of a yid. So we discussed this the other day, explained why it's different. But in any case, we have a raya to the shita that even when a guy shaved a tree, and even if he diverted it, he abused the tree for personal use, in which case even in a case where it was for the sake of the Avodah Zarah, to beautify the Avodah Zarah, so Avodah Zarah's status remains intact, but the shavings are different, they're broken, they're waste material, they're batal. Another item on this track, Itma, we have learned, Avodas kacham shenishtabra me'aleha. The Bach adds me'aleha. So we have an idol of Avodah Zarah that collapsed, that fell apart due to poor maintenance. So now it's scattered pieces. Rav Amar tzorach levatel kol kesem v'kesem. Rav says it still retains its Avodah Zarah status unless the guy is mevatel. He nullifies it outright, and he has to nullify each piece, each spindle, each element of that Avodah Zarah. Ushmol Amar, no, Avodas Kechavim eino betela ela derech delas. Avodah Zarah is only batal if it shed something of routine, the way it typically grows, like the leaves off the tree, right, which typically shed, once a year. Just the opposite, says the Gemara, just the opposite. Derech delas mimavatla. Why would it be batal if it's shedding it in a manner of routine? That's not bittul, that's a normal growth cycle. Rather, he meant like this. You only have to bother, you only have to take the trouble, the Zarah that breaks, if the breakage happens as a matter of routine, like the leaves shedding off the tree once a year. Then it's not automatically presumed that it's batal, because that's just the way it happens. It's just a part of its natural growth cycle. But otherwise, in our case where the idol collapsed due to lack of maintenance, broken idol, the owner gives up on it, he no longer regards it as Avodah Zarah. Perhaps the machlekes, Rav and Shmuel, revolves around that discussion we had the other day. The Mar Savar Oiden L'Shvar, and Rav holds that the guy would still worship broken pieces, in which case it's still considered Avodah Zarah unless he nullifies it outright. Mar Savar, whereas Shmuel holds, no, once it breaks apart, it's over. Ein Oiden L'Shvar, they no longer worship when it's broken. Loi, says the Gemara, no, not necessarily is it connected to that discussion. Dukuli Alma Oiden L'Shvar, and perhaps all would agree, even Shmuel, that Avodah Zarah, which came apart, would still be considered Avodah Zarah. They worship that too. Here we're speaking that it broke into smithereens. So it fell down, then it fell even further. It broke even more. So now it's like really, breakage of breakage. It's like really teeny and insignificant pieces. Mar Savar Shivir Shvar Masurim. Rab says, well, the guy still holds on to his idol, even though it's been demolished to that extent. Umar Savar Shivir Shvar Mutarim. Shmuel says, no, not that far. The first breakage, okay, but once it's breaking into smaller and smaller pieces, it's mutar. Another way to explain, everybody would agree that when it breaks to this extent, it's mutar. But here we're speaking about that the idol was made of parts, like IKEA furniture, right? Made of different parts. And it came apart. But it could still be restored by any layman. Right? A half-talented husband could put it together. And a hedyot, an ordinary person can typically reassemble this collapsed idol. No. So the question is, shall we consider it done deal or not? Mar Savar. Rab says, Kivin the hedyot huyachal, even though it's broken into many, many pieces, right? Rashi says, Cholya is daken, really teeny pieces. It's like shivrei shvarim. It's like, double breakage, meaning to say it's so small, the pieces, they're like little pieces. But it can be restored. Given the hedyot, since an ordinary person has the ability to put it back together, loy betela, it's not going to be batal unless he is actually mevatel it consciously. Umar savar, Shmuel holds ein avodas gechav betela. You don't have to bother. You don't need to take the trouble to be mevatel. Avodah Zarah that broke into shivrei shvarim, unless it's elo derech de lasa, if it's sort of a matter of routine, like the leaves off the tree that came down, came apart, and those parts came apart again. There, you don't automatically presume that it's batal, because that's the part of its natural, growth process. Holav gedei lasa, but in this case, it's not derech de lasa. It's not normal for the item to just come apart to that extent. Lav gedei lasa, and therefore, don't bother being mevatel. The guy, it's assumed that the guy just gives up on it, and it is presumed to be batal just by a matter of default. Okay, let's do a quick recap of today's daf. We had a discussion about zev and zegorim, two causes, two powers, two gorimim joining together to produce a certain product, a certain result. Whether it's by Erla that was planted, whether it's Avodah Zarah, fertilization, whether it's the Sa'ir of Truma. We concluded that according to the Chachamim, Zev Zagorim is Asr, according to Rabbi Yossi, Zev Zagorim is Mutar, and that's how we pass it. We had a shayla regarding Pidyon, Avodah Zarah, according to Rabbi Lezer, that's an acceptable method of relieving oneself of Avodah Zarah material, doing Pidyon on it, and then selling the rest outright. Rabbanan disagree. The more passings like Rabbi Lezer. Even in the case where there's a chavish shal yain mixed in to the rest. And then we had a discussion regarding the shvarim, or according to the second pshat, shivrei shvarim. Where according to Rav, you would still have to be mevatel. According to Shmuel, it's automatically mevutel. Hadron lach kol atzlamim. All the best to you. Reza Hashem will pick it up tomorrow. Have much hatzlacha and b'suras tov.